Yo, what's going on everybody? This is Suhail back with Feelgood Threads, and today I'm going to teach you how to speckle print. Alright folks, today's tutorial I am working on a Jordan 4 Olivia Kim. What we're going to be doing next is speckling off just the upper portion here of the midsole. We're going to go all the way through, and so that means the first step here, we're going to go ahead and mask off the parts that we don't want any speckle print on. So right now what I'll do is I'll mask off all of this bottom portion of the sole here. We're going to get the entire upper, and then we're going to get just the air bubble sole here, because the midsole for the Jordan 4 white cement only covers this upper half. It's really important, guys, that you do the tape job well, because we want to try to keep this to be a nice clean finish at the end. So let's jump into the first part of the tutorial, which is just masking off. When this is complete and ready to speckle, we should have it masked off just like this. And as you guys can see, only the part where speckling is showing. I got to cover up even the bottom sole as well. And that's when we're going to show you how to speckle print. So let's get it. All right guys, so again, this is my setup here. I've got a medium bristle toothbrush. I use this medium bristle because as I flick, there's enough tension for this bristles right here to like go back and forth and flick the paint off of it. I'm using here Aqua 8 paint. This is what we're using because he wanted to have a nice bright popping turquoise. I've got some invisible gloves. You don't necessarily need this, but I love to use this because once I put it on, I just drop it on like lotion, for example, and I put it onto my hands. I can still get a good feel for the bristles and not have to worry about my nails and everything being like all submersed with paint. So let's jump into practicing. Again, I'm gonna make sure I put an ample amount of this invisible glove on, and once I got it put together, we're gonna just drop a little bit of paint into this little palette there. Okay guys, I'm going to show you a couple of different strategies on how I speckle print. Again, everyone has a different method to their madness. I find this way to be some of the easiest ways, so I'm sharing that with you today. First off, I'm going to just be pouring some of this paint, okay, and I'll go ahead and cap this guy up. This is my traditional way of speckling because I feel like it's most controlled. So we're going to take the tip of the toothbrush here, I'm going to dip it in, okay, and again we're practicing, and that's why I've got this paper up here, and I'm going to practice flicking. You can see when I flick here from a certain distance, they're very small dots. So I'm going to re-dip, and I'm going to come in a little closer now. Now you can see these dots are a little bit bigger than the dots before them. I'm going to re-dip again. This time I'm going to dip heavier in paint. So the more paint that's on the bristle, you should get bigger dots. Now I don't do that too many times because as the paint starts to dissipate from the tip, the dots get smaller. So just flick maybe 2-3 times. And then let it go. You got to re-dip. All right, so that's the first method. As you guys could see, this portion here was far away, this portion here was closer, so you got an idea when you're using the toothbrush now how far or close you need to be. All right, so that's one way. Let's jump into another way that a lot of people do, and that is they'll take their fingers, and this is a different kind of splatter print. Okay, you will dip your fingers in and then you'll flick like that. Again, re-dip, flick. And this is if you'd want some kind of a whipping motion. This is how you would do it. Again, it takes a little bit of experience to figure out how much paint to drop on your fingers. Really cool effects though. And that's another way where you can have streaks. I'm going to show you a third way, and that way requires you to have an airbrush. Alright guys, so this is the third version of doing a splatter print. I got my airbrush out, I've already put paint inside of it, and all I'm doing is pulling the trigger back. And as I pull the trigger back, it pulls this needle back, which allows paint to end up here on the tip. So now once you have paint on the actual tip, you just press the trigger down here and it'll shoot. Do it again. Just keep pulling it back until you see enough paint on there, and then shoot. Now from what I noticed, at least on this airbrush, it doesn't make nice big dots like this. There we go. Unless you really pile on the paint. So that might mean that you need to pull this trigger back about 8 or 10 times and then shoot. Also just keep note that the paint has to be thin enough for it to shoot out. If it's not thin enough, you're not going to get anything from this method. So just make sure the tip here is clean, we can shoot, and then make sure that the paint is thin enough for it to come through the airbrush. Again, this takes practice, guys, so I highly recommend y'all practice this before you do it on a shoe. Alright guys, so you just learned 3 different ways of doing 3 different kind of speckles or different kind of prints here. What we're going to do now is we're going to get out this toothbrush and we're going to jump onto the actual shoe. I'm using a reference pick here so you guys can see that I'm looking at the white cement for midsole as I'm doing the process. That's important if you want to try to get it to be as close as possible because you're studying it. So let's go ahead and dip, and then we'll do a flick. Small parts have hit it, nothing crazy. Let's go in a little bit deeper. So we'll dip and we'll just keep going across. Go back to the front. Remember, there's paint that's everywhere here too, so just be conscious of it afterwards. So I'm going to put this guy down now. Go ahead and wipe my finger off here. And what I like to do while it's still wet, if you see any big blobs, which might happen, what happened here, I'm going to try to clean it up a little bit before it completely gets wet on there. And now what I'll do is take a little bit of acetone and we'll go back in and we'll just clean that little area up so we can get it back to that original like black. We don't want like smudge marks of the Aqua 8 anywhere. But now I'm gonna go ahead and let this guy dry a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit more paint and we'll fill in other spots that I feel like we kind of missed. For example, we just took this guy out, so obviously we got to fill a little there. This looks a little shallow there. We got to maybe fill in a little bit in this section here and here so it balances out here. Alright guys, this is pretty much the finished product here. As you guys could see, it's speckled all the way through. Now if you guys really want to get detailed and drop more speckles in but be more particular, you can grab, this is from Angelus, it's a 20 brush and it's a spotter. And you can just add in any like small details that you'd like to drop in. So this brush is perfect for that. You literally are just taking the brush and just doing small taps. And the harder you push on the brush, obviously the bigger the dot will be. So just to keep that in mind if you guys are wanting that perfect speckle print. I usually will do this, I'll go over it and see if there's any spots that could use a little bit more balance in the whole custom. Yo, so I hope you guys appreciated the video. If you did, please hit that thumbs up. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the notifications so you know when new tutorials are coming up. Again, my name is Suhail with Feelgood Threads, and I'm out of here. Peace! Yeah.
Hey yo, my OG told me slow it, bro. If dreams are flowing global ocean, still stuck at local notion. Want some shows in Nova Scotia, training like that locomotive once. Almost overdosed it punch. Made for runny noses, praying that he keep me floating lunch. Pay that money, Otis dunce. Blazing strange aromas, day to day they stay in coma. Sleeping on my painted opus. What? I'm just moping, feeling stuck. I'm just hoping it's enough. Mutants flow Genosa, cuz Trump just fucked the Oval up. I've been